Hi guys, it's Christina here for another Kids Crafternoon. What we're going to make today is one of my most favorite projects. It's making a geode out of roving. So roving is this wool that's been cleaned and dyed all different kinds of colors. And what you're going to do, we're going to wet felt that today and make a geode. They end up looking about like this, depending on what colors you use. And this is after they're cut open. They kind of turn out however they turn out, and it's always a surprise when you cut them open. What you're going to need for this project is some really warm water, some different colors of roving, and some dish soap. So we're going to get started. So to start a geode, you're going to just take a little piece of roving and you're going to ball it up, dip it in the water, make sure it's warm water, give it a drop of soap, and then you're going to start rolling it. Now this is kind of an important part. Notice how I'm not pushing very hard and I'm cupping my hands and just rolling this into a ball, because if I push too hard, it's going to flatten it out, and I'm just rolling it to make this ball. And the more it forms into a ball, the harder I can push. It's like working with clay or Play-Doh. You guys have all done that, so you know this. And I want it to get a little soapy, so I might add another drop of dish soap. And you're just going to keep on rolling your piece of roving. And the more you roll, the firmer the ball's going to get. So you're going to roll this for probably about 5 minutes. If you feel like it's getting too dry, you can always dip it in the water again and keep on rolling. And when I know that it's going to be firm enough is because it needs to be as firm as like a grape or a cherry. And the more I roll, the smaller it's going to get too. So it's getting to be a nice little ball like that. So once it's as firm as like a grape or a cherry, then I'm going to add my second color. And I think I'm going to do some hot pink. Get your second piece of roving. I'm going to cover this with this hot pink. I'm going to kind of spread my roving out. I'm going to split it into 2 pieces, and then I'm going to roll that over my little ball. And I'm going to wrap it pretty tight. You know, you don't have to go crazy, but wrap it kind of tight. So I'm going to wrap that first piece, and then I'm going to wrap the second piece of roving the opposite direction. This will help it to felt a little bit better. If you don't do all this perfectly, don't worry, because it'll felt. Not to worry. Okay, so once I get that wrapped, I'm going to dip it in the water again. I'm going to add a drop of soap, and I'm going to roll again. Same thing as before, is you don't want to push too hard. Ooh, that one got really soapy, so I'm going to give it a little more water. Don't push too hard at first. Be gentle. And then again, the more you roll, the harder it's going to get, and then you can push a little bit harder. This is a really, really good way to get your hands super clean. You can also do this in the bathtub if you want to. Bathtub's a perfect place to do this. So you don't want it to be too soapy or too wet. So once you roll a whole bunch of times, then there's your second layer. I like to cover up my color, my first color with my second color, and then keep on going like that. But you know, it's all going to be really great. So you're just going to continue that way until you get a ball that is big enough that, or else if you don't want to keep on doing it and you just want like 3 colors, that's totally fine too. So I'm going to show you how you end this. So this is a ball that I've already done, and it's probably got about 5 colors in there. So I'm going to add the last color to it. So I'm going to get my last piece of roving. I'm going to cover this with brown because I want it to look kind of like a rock, like a real stone. So I'm going to wrap it around one direction. And then wrap my second piece of roving the opposite direction. Dip it in the water. Give it a drop of soap. And roll. But this time your geode's going to be pretty darn firm, so you're going to kind of by this time get a feel for how hard things should be too. I should be rolling this for probably about 5 minutes or so, but just for the sake of the video, we're going to call it good. That's not the best roundy geode I've ever done, but I need to roll it a little bit more. So if I like that, if I feel like that's nice and felted on there, to end it all, I'm going to dip it in the water a couple of times to get the extra soap off, and I'm going to squeeze it to get the extra soap out. And then once I feel like the soap is out, I'm going to squeeze it to get a lot of the water out, and then I'm going to set it aside and let it dry for probably about 24 hours. It'll dry faster if you squeeze out a lot of the water. So we'll just set that aside. So now I'm going to show you a geode that I finished yesterday that's completely dry, and we're going to cut it open. This is the most exciting part of this whole thing. First, I'm going to show you a geode that's been cut already that somebody made that didn't felt it enough. So I'm going to show you kind of what you don't want. So this is a geode that wasn't felted for long enough, and so the layers didn't really stick together, and see how they just kind of peel off of each other. You don't want that. You want them to be pretty firm, and you want them to be really stuck together. So really, the more you roll it together, the more stuck together it's going to be. That's more what you want. You can't over felt it, so I'd say the longer the better. So now we're going to cut open this geode. I suggest you really want a good pair of really sharp scissors. I also recommend that you get help from an adult with this, because this can be a little tricky to cut, and I don't want you cutting your finger off. So I'm just going to try to cut it down the middle, and I'll show you kind of how hard it is to cut too. Really have to use some muscle. And usually I try my best to cut it down the middle. And it should be pretty hard to cut because it got really felted together. So there it is. So this one that I did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors. I think I did another little red in the middle, but that got a little disappeared. So that's my geode that I made yesterday, and it's always so much fun to cut them open and see what you did. So go ahead and go make geode. They are really, really fun. Thanks.